Trump is crashing the stock market again this morning. And you know what that means? That means there are even worse issues that he's trying to keep out of the news, because as bad as Trump is for the economy, the truth is lots of people don't really blame him when things go wrong in the economy, because they assume he's a master businessman who in the long term will make some great deals, even though that's really not what's happening at all. But there are a couple even worse issues that are good candidates for things he doesn't want to be on the front page right now. And first, that includes his blatant corruption. So not only is he accepting the plane from Qatar, which is allegedly $400 million, even though they actually tried to sell the plane a couple years back for $250 million and they couldn't find any takers, which means it's probably worth less than $200 million. And it's going to cost the Air Force $1.5 billion to retrofit this plane into something that's appropriate for Air Force One. So even as corruption, it doesn't even really make sense, because it doesn't even benefit him or the United States. But I don't think he's smart enough to realize that, and so he accepted the gift anyway. And that's already changing U.S. foreign policy, right? He's doing things right now that Qatar wants him to do because he thinks they're giving him this great gift, even though, again, it's not really that great. There's also the blatant corruption of the crypto dinner he had. And if you guys haven't heard of this, this is insane. Trump literally has a crypto coin that if you buy enough of the coin, it actually pushes money to Trump's family. No other cryptocurrency works like this. To be clear, this is just a blatant corruption scheme. And he actually did this dinner specifically for people who bought enough of this coin. If you bought a lot of the coin and essentially just gave money straight to Trump's family, then you got a seat at this dinner. And at the minimum that it ended up being to get to this dinner was $1 million. So people are, again, bribing Trump left and right. But it's not just this. There's actually several other even worse things that's happening. First off, he is essentially banning international students from the United States. Now, not everyone has been banned yet, but he already banned all international students from Harvard specifically, this is just nuts. I mean, this is going to have such a chilling effect on research in the United States, because a lot of our best students are international. I mean, we are the #1 destination for universities, like worldwide. If you ask international students, where would you like to go to college? The #1 response has always been the United States. Now, that's likely to change after this, because the truth is that you don't want to go to a country where they could just kick you out at any time. So he's significantly harming the competitiveness of U.S. colleges simply because Harvard stood up to him and they said, we're not going to get rid of our DEI, quote-unquote DEI programs. And to be clear, this included lots of programs that were not even DEI. It was things like Black History or something like that, right? That are allegedly DEI, even though it's a totally legitimate form of history. It doesn't have anything to do, and that's not to imply that DEI is not legitimate, but just to be clear, like, this is not, it doesn't have to do with DEI. It's literally just, we're studying a specific form of history. Now, it's not just, it's not just that there's these corruption scandals and there are the stock market's crashing and he's banning foreign students from the United States. He's going to scare them all off. He's also crashing the housing market right now because the bond market is collapsing. People don't want to put their money in the United States anymore. They're scared there's going to be hyperinflation. So they're not putting money into the United States. And that means that not only is housing crashing with that, but also rents are as well. And that's really scary because normally one would think that if you have interest rates going up, that might not affect rents all that much because you'd still have demand for rents. It just means that, the housing prices go down, but rents still stay about the same because the payment for a home is about the same, right? The interest rate's higher, but the home is worth less, and so the payment stays about the same. The fact that rents are collapsing along with that means that this is totally different. This is more like 2008 than anything else. And I just want to go back to something I said earlier here, which is I said high rents were not going to be a problem in 4 years, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're so out of touch because high rents are a problem." And I was like, yes, they are, present tense, a problem. They are not going to be a problem in 4 years. Do you hear what I'm saying? And it's already coming true this early in Trump's term. For it to be coming true this early means we're going to have a serious crash. If you don't remember, for those of you who weren't alive or maybe in high school or something and not paying too much attention during 2008, we had a big housing crash in 2008, 2009, but it kept going until 2012. And that was with stimulus and Obama in charge trying to fix things and all this. Trump's not even competent enough to do something like this. Who knows how far the housing market will crash this time? So again, when I said we don't need construction right now simply because housing is gonna fall apart, but like doing more construction would actually make the housing market crash harder. And again, I want cheaper housing, but I don't want the value of everyone's home to drop to exactly $0. I want it to be a slow, controlled decrease in prices. Otherwise, people are going to be defaulting left and right, and we're going to have a very big economic crisis on our hands. Now, I want to go back to this rent thing again real quick. It's not just that rents are falling right now and home prices are falling at the same time interest rates are rising. It's also that rents and housing prices almost always go up during spring and summer, and then they fall during fall and winter. This is like a very consistent pattern. Even when housing prices are like going up, they tend to fall at least a little bit during the fall. And even when prices are going down, they tend to rise a little bit during spring and summer. But the fact they're falling right now, we're only in late spring. We're nowhere close to fall. We're like literally the opposite end of the year from when prices should be falling. And so the fact they're collapsing right now means 1 year from now, who knows? Like, who knows where the bottom is? So these are just a couple of stories that Trump might be trying to distract us from, because I think it is important to talk about the fact that his tariffs are totally nuts. And despite the fact that he keeps talking about all these great deals he's making with countries, he has not struck a single deal. I want to be super clear on this. He has not struck a single deal with any country. He has had press releases with several countries, but not a single legally binding deal has been signed by any party. So he's terrible at negotiating. I just want to go back to this again. He's terrible at negotiating, and it's important to talk about this, but it's also important to talk about the issues that he's trying to keep out of the news. There's one last one which is really important, and that is that he's going to add $3 trillion to the debt over the next several years by slashing taxes for the rich. And the way that he's paying for part of this, which again, he's not paying for all of it because he's adding to the debt significantly, which is one reason why the US bond market is collapsing. But he's also at the same time slashing Medicare and Medicaid. This is how he's paying for his cuts. And he's scheduling those cuts to go into effect in 2029, as soon as he leaves office, if he does leave. So he's basically baking into this the fact that he's significantly increasing the debt already over the next several years. And then the way he's partially offsetting this is by giving the next administration, which presumably at this point things are going so badly, it really might be a Democratic administration. He's giving them a huge headache right off the bat, which is the same thing he did last time. If you guys remember the Afghanistan withdrawal, Trump was the one that signed the deal with the Taliban requiring us to leave. He was the one who released all the Taliban terrorists, 5,000 of them. He forced the Afghan government to release them. They weren't even consulted. So he's the one who set us up for failure, but then it was Biden that took the blame for it. Why? Because Trump is really good at making all of his mistakes, casting blame for that onto other people. He did this with COVID. We had COVID-1 in 2001, and George Bush wasn't a great president for many reasons, but he was good at this. He actually shut down COVID-1. And if someone incompetent like Bush could shut down COVID-1, then you got to wonder how stupid Trump was that he allowed this thing to spread all over the world. And it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. There were many countries that had COVID-0 policies and were successful in that. Even China, where it originated. But he pissed off China, making sure that they wouldn't cooperate with us at all. He slashed funding for the CDC. He didn't shut down travel to or from China or from any affected country until it was too late, until it was already endemic in the United States. And he did zero test and trace. And yet he takes zero blame, essentially, for COVID. But like, the median voter simply doesn't think that it's Trump's fault at all. The median voter does not think that Afghanistan was Trump's fault at all. And when we have a debt crisis, I mean, it's already happening right now, but it will get much worse in 2029. Or, other option, we'll have to slash Medicare and Medicaid in 2029. When that happens, it will also be the Democratic administration's fault then too. He's great at blaming other people for his problems. So again, I just want to reiterate here that this is nuts. The United States is doing real bad right now. We're not even investigating the food anymore. Our bond market's not considered safe. This is the most serious crisis we've probably had in our nation's history, except for maybe the Civil War.